I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Good morning. Welcome to Great Vow Zen Monastery. And welcome to the babies that are in attendance. I want to say happy birthday to one of the babies, Hart. I believe it's Hart's birthday today? Tuesday. All right. And this one's not that much different in age, maybe a little. Yeah. It's nice to have babies here. So we expect the babies to participate, and they usually don't disappoint. It's also the eve of Martin Luther King Day in this country, where we turn our hearts and minds to the liberative work of this great American leader. So I'd like to acknowledge that too. So Great Vow Zen Monastery just hosted a retreat here for the past week for Wildland Firefighters. And I want to just share a little bit of the beauty of that and the alignment of Wildland Firefighters and Zen. Even though this was not a Zen retreat, it was held in a Zen container, and that has a powerful effect. But I think the effect that each of these communities had on each other was quite mutual. And we began this retreat with the background of the fires in Los Angeles, which are still burning, and there were and are people working on them that many people in the retreat knew and know, people who are affected by them. And there were people in our retreat who had to really resist a call to go, either to volunteer or to say, not this time, which was not easy. So with two co-leaders, Lee Lesser, who's a teacher and practitioner of sensory awareness and a student of Charlotte Selver, and my dear friend Vanessa Mead, who is also a mindfulness teacher, among many other things. And with a lot of help from a lot of people, we set forth on this path of a retreat. So I want to give you a little bit of background to that, and still kind of give you a little bit of context, but mostly I just want to talk about love. Does that sound good? Okay. It's important to say that Lee, who's sitting right over there, founded an organization called Veterans Path. Lee had been a resident at Tassajara Zen Monastery, which lives deep in the Los Padres National Forest and is prone to burn, has had its edges singed quite a few times. And Wildland Firefighters have protected that place over the years. And San Francisco Zen Center really wanted to offer something to give back, to express gratitude and support for the wildland fire community. And Lee happened to be a person who knew exactly how to offer something to a population like that, having worked with veterans. While there are similarities, there are differences. And with Vanessa, and I've been privileged to do some of that work with veterans. And so we set about learning a lot about what wildland fire culture is and what the needs are in this community, and included wildland firefighters to let us know what was needed. So it's been a wonderful relationship from the beginning. And these have now been going on for the past 4 or 5 years, at least in the planning and the offering. But this is the first time it's been offered at Great Vow. So it's an honor to be here and to share a little bit from what's happened here. And I also want to, by way of introduction, share a little bit about another one of our helpers and supporters, which is the organization called FUSE, Firefighters United for Safety, Ethics, and Ecology. FUSE is based in Eugene, Oregon. Even though it's been around for 20 years, it's really starting to take a step forward. These kinds of values that FUSE is promoting are starting to make a lot of sense to people in and out of wildland fire communities. FUSE is organizing around some of the areas that might get missed in the prevailing culture of wildland fire, or just the old ways of doing things. And this is exciting. It represents a slightly different population of wildland firefighters than those who typically attend at Tassajara, so it's just been really lively and delightful. One of the commonalities, I would say, in terms of this retreat and the values of Great Vow Zen Monastery is the centrality of ethics. So that's central to the mission of FUSE, ethics to the natural world and to the people in it. One thing I noticed in also working with medical professionals, Chosen Roshi and I work with medical professionals, there's a similarity in terms of the degradation to the medical system that we're experiencing in this country. And wildland firefighters find themselves caught up in these hugely profitable systems that fail to consider and care for those who may have a vow for service. And that is a natural resource that can be exploited. So here are the people who are on the front lines of climate change. These are people who are very adept with tools. But here we got to share a very different set of tools, the tools of practice. Primarily meditation in its many forms, not just seated, but also in the process of work, in the process of utilizing those tools. The practice of open awareness, of presence, opening and allowing what is. Cultivating generosity and gratitude, and exploring the vulnerability needed to truly connect to others. Taking time to care for what might be a backlog of grief, and to explore the heart's aspiration or one's deepest vow, and to articulate how to go forward from here. I will say that the firefighters did do some work practice here on the land, and I want to thank you all for the work that you did. I heard from many people it was their favorite part of the retreat. These are the tools they're most familiar with, I would say. It was impressive. I hope that you do go out to some of the trails further out from the Shrine of Vows and up the hill. They did quite a bit of impressive trail maintenance and replaced an entire set of stairs, created a switchback, and they also did some demolition and duct working in the gym. They also attended to the roof and took care of some things on the roof. They also gathered wood for a fire that we had during the week, and probably other things I might not be aware of. But all of this in just the span of a few hours. And I heard one of the people on maintenance saying, I was afraid to leave them alone. I had to run to go get something, and I was afraid they would take apart the whole monastery. But it was wonderful to see the beauty of what they've cultivated in action, this relationship to the earth and to work, to wholehearted activity. So that's another aspect of common ground with Zen and with firefighters. And I do think we learn from each other or inspired each other in different ways. We're both communities on what I would call a Jizo mission. And the firefighters got to learn a little bit about Jizo Bodhisattva. So I'll talk about that too, which is also really talking about love. And I want to share a quote that really touched me and felt like a guidepost for me in this retreat. And it's from Tennessee Williams, St. Louisan, Tennessee Williams. The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. We are saved only by love, love for each other, and the love that we pour into the art we feel compelled to share, being a parent, being a writer, being a painter, being a friend. We live in a perpetually burning building, and what we must save from it all the time is love. So what is love? We're not talking about romantic love, though that is admittedly very powerful. But it's smaller even than the love that this is pointing to. This kind of love includes kindness and compassion. But this kind of love is also born of mystery and not knowing. This kind of love is born of looking deeply at the way things are. And when we do that, when we really do that, when we look deeply at just how things are, we see how much we do not know. So this can often be found in discoveries of nature. The word love, maybe, we don't really use that word in Zen so much. Maybe enlightenment could be what we're pointing to here. Our first ancestor in Japan, Eihei Dogen, said that enlightenment is intimacy with all things. Enlightenment is intimacy with all things. And that sounds like love to me. But when he says all things, he means all things. All things. How do you open your heart like that? How do you allow this world, this burning world, to touch the heart? It's tempting and sometimes necessary to compartmentalize grief and loss. It's tempting, sometimes necessary, to have a protective shell in order to do what must be done. But it comes at a cost. It's a little expensive to do that. It's costly in terms of loneliness. It's costly in terms of isolation. And this is something we all share as human beings. This the risk inherent in being vulnerable, to allow true connection, to allow intimacy with all things. But when we do, we realize that our hearts are in fact boundless. We are so much more than we think we are. One of the best quotes from Lee, a very popular quote, is, "There's nothing my heart can't hold when open." There's nothing my heart can't hold when open. So how do we open our heart? Certainly being in nature helps us blur the lines of self and other. We can see more clearly that we're just one part of nature. We're not separate from anything or anyone. If you look closely enough, anything in nature will teach you this. And I think the mushrooms were one of our teachers this week. These fruiting bodies that just arise for a day or 3, but then they melt back into the one, the mycelial network that spans perhaps endlessly, certainly larger than we know it to be, that we're just beginning to understand. The aliveness that is in everything. Something that has been known in cultures that have come before us for a long time, that everything is alive. Here we are rediscovering that. All we have to do is look. When our hearts are open, we can know this for ourselves. Here's a teaching from Martin Luther King about love. Love is not only pure joy and delight, but also great and deep heaviness of heart and sorrow. But love too is full of joy and sweetness, even in bitter sorrow, because it regards the misery and injury of others as its own. That's true connection. That's true intimacy. Love too is full of joy and sweetness, even in bitter sorrow, because it regards the misery and injury of others as its own. And it's important to note that this teaching applies in both directions. And that also is a big part of this retreat, that working with our own pain and our own grief is a profound benefit to the world. Wildland firefighters, like many professionals with life and death responsibility inherent in their work, can have a very powerful inner critical voice that is sometimes used to motivate or to prevent mistakes that could be really costly. But as many of us who have done work on the inner critic, or even if you just happen to know that voice deeply, that way of motivating ourselves has a point of diminishing returns and can ultimately do more damage than be helpful. One of the vows that came forward in this retreat was another natural teaching that spoke to this, at least it did to me. Don't poison your own water. We are all downstream. Don't poison your own water. We are all downstream. So as far as our Jizo missions, Jizo being the guiding bodhisattva of this monastery, bodhisattva being a person on the way to becoming a Buddha, that means all of us. But Jizo bodhisattva has particular qualities that we can all be reminded of, that we already have, that we can cultivate. The seeds of these qualities exist in all of us, and they just need some care. Optimism, determination, fearlessness, benevolence, and vow. Jizo fearlessly enters the deepest, hottest hells to intercede for suffering beings there. This is why Jizo is also the guardian of firefighters. That's what firefighters do. Jizo is the guardian of everything that is born of the earth. Firefighters also are the protectors of the earth. Firefighters perform a Jizo mission in this way. And there's a commonality with Zen in the way that happens. There's a humility about this. It's probably hard for the folks in attendance. Thank you for coming to hear someone talk about how awesome you are, but it's true. We worked on a practice in the retreat, and when you receive some positive feedback, it may be difficult, but to say either aloud or to yourself, I am receiving this. It's a very nice practice. There's humility, there's hierarchy in both worlds. There's hard work, there's early mornings, there's late nights, there's a willingness to be in uncomfortable conditions, there's teamwork, there's renunciation, love of nature, and an impressive ability to swing from sacred reverence to silly irreverence and back again. With firefighters, it's a little more body, but it's the same energy. As we found with other groups of people who are deeply committed to service, like veterans, like medical professionals, the best medicine is often in providing time and ability for firefighters to just connect with and support each other. You guys are the best medicine. And this happens more readily because it's held in this larger practice container. We really focused on benevolence, and the word we used for that was unconditional friendliness. The vow of Jizo to express benevolence goes something like this. May I welcome everything that comes towards me with a warm and undefended heart. May I welcome everything that comes towards me with a warm and undefended heart. We practiced that this week, as difficult as that is. Some vows came forward. People made flags, and we'll take those with them to remind them of the vows that they made, to be there for their family or to live with passion and kindness. But enough from me. I would like to hear and open it up to the people who were here and to the monastic community. I have a question that I'd like you to answer, and that is, what did you learn, firefighters? What did you learn about monastic life? And residents, what did you learn about firefighters? It's way more fun when you participate, as we've learned every day.
And please use the microphone, the one that I'm holding, so that everyone can hear in this room and that those who are on the internet community can hear clearly as well. So right next to your mouth like this.
Oh, actually, just raise your hand and we'll take the mic to you. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we didn't say that part.
Hello, this is Kate, one of the firefighters, and just wanted to start with thank you all so much for opening up your community to us. I did not realize, I guess, how we were going to be served when we came here, and so I was very worried about that when I first arrived, and you guys just made me feel very comfortable, and it was very special to meld our communities and get to know you, and did not realize that I feel like I expected I had a vision of like monks in my head, and, it was just, you guys are real people too, and I think that was really awesome for me to see, and it was really neat to meet your community, and yeah, so thank you all very much.
I was not a part of this week's retreat, but I am a wildland firefighter by trade, and I came here sort of by chance today.
Oh, wow.
And so I feel very grateful for the community of people that I just seem to keep falling into in firefighting. It is a very special group of people, I feel, and I'm very grateful for all of you that came and enjoyed this retreat. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the community here as the Zen monastery and as well as firefighting. And so I do want to say good on all of you who came here to center yourself and improve yourself, and yeah, just gratitude.
Hi, I'm Emily, one of the firefighters. One of the residents was saying to me yesterday that they were so happy that they ended up in this particular monastery because it has this real sense of whimsy. And I really agree. I've never been to any other monastery, but like the whimsy here is really sensational.
Can we put that on our brochure?
Yeah, you should. And for those of you that weren't lucky enough to be here last night, we had a kind of open mic night, sing-along, marimba, concert, thrown together event. It included performance songs about millipedes and lobsters, and it was like one of the funnest nights I've had in a really long time, and I heard lots of people say that. It was incredible. Thank you all.
Thank you. There were a lot of conversations around the lunch tables and dinner tables, and I'm wondering what you might have learned about the practice or the life that might be similar or different, or any spiritual connections that you might have made, things like that too. Yeah. Let's everybody alternate each side whenever you
Hi, I'm one of the firefighters as well from this retreat, and I don't know, maybe I had preconceived notions in my head of the type of individuals that would live in a monastery, but that's my judgment that I am working on, and I was proven so unreasonably wrong. Speaking to the people who work here, not only were they some of the most warm-hearted individuals, and just present with you every conversation, but also didn't take themselves seriously. It was, I'm present with you, I'm working on myself, we both have similar problems and we're in different places, and that is okay. And I can make jokes about it because even though we all have pain and grief in our life, you need to have that duality. And without saying that, you taught that through just your existence in the world. And it was beautiful.
All right, one of the residents.
Hello, my name is Royston. I'm a resident here. and I was working in the kitchen all week, and I learned that Wildland Firefighters eat a lot of food.
Thank you.
Also, you're really nice people. Thanks for coming.
How about Doka?
I've said this a couple times before. I'm a resident here. That there seems to be some sort of thread in both communities that have driven us to either end up as residents here, engaging in full-time spiritual practice, or wildland firefighting. And I've been really curious, like, what that fiber is that's the same thing and how it's manifested different in really just engaging with life in a very real, sometimes scary way. And Jomon, I really like the way that you've talked about, like, this is like just Jizo work, you know, to literally descend into the hell realms to fight the fires on the front lines of climate change. I've just been really moved by everyone. And I think similarly, I had ideas like, oh, we're hosting a firefighter retreat. Like, I had my own notions, and similarly, you guys are just so alive and silly in a way, and lighthearted, and it's, yeah, I feel very moved and very deeply touched that we had this retreat here. It's different than any of the other retreats that I had, but being able to offer this place of practice to people engaging in a specific type of work that is very real and really important, yeah, just really moves me, and I'm so grateful for all of you, like, engaging in your work, and I'm also glad that you were able to have space this week to engage in, like, a different type of inner work. Yeah, thank you.
Any other observations? Oh, Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori, and I am a resident here. I am also a veteran, and I did not think that I wasn't going to know how you all were. I knew you guys were going to be cool. I myself have not been a firefighter. However, I have other veteran friends who have done seasonal firefight work, so I'm familiar with it in that regard. And your work ethic and the way you move through the day and through your lives is very, I guess, it just felt really good to me because it just reminded me of my military background and my friends that have that sense of service and work ethic and just getting it done, and that's pretty darn groovy. And I know that being that type of a person for myself, getting in touch with your inner feelings is really difficult. So I think it's pretty cool that you stepped out and you came here, and I'm glad that you enjoyed yourselves, and I hope that you can take something with you. Thank you.
Everybody has one more. There's one more.
Don't really want to finish.
Well, that's all right.
My name's Evan. I've had the incredible privilege to participate in this same work with my peers, for a couple years now. And this year I've had a chance to really understand the monastic practice and the Zen tradition a little better, both at Tassajara Zen Center and now here at Great Vow. And what has struck me just right between the eyes is courage that we share. And my misconception about a monastery in this practice was a type of running away, of avoiding, of not being in the real world. I had this idea that there was a stepping out of something when really it's a huge stepping forward. And I think a lot of folks look to us as firefighters or first responders like, oh, you're so courageous. Don't get me wrong, like this is a room full of our firefighter group, my peers are incredibly brave, courageous people. I've discovered for myself the courage is actually in facing myself and all of my own experience. And you all here that practice, deeply practice, are a wonderful model for that. So thank you for sharing your courage. And I know we have that in common. Big time.
That was perfect to end on, because that is also one of the qualities of Jizo Bodhisattva is fearlessness and courage. So we mirror each other. This is how we support each other and inspire each other and support each other to keep going on whatever path we're on. And if we can clarify how to be of benefit in the world, and together we can accomplish so much more than we ever could alone. We have to do this together. The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. We are saved only by love, love for each other and the love that we pour into the art we feel compelled to share, being a parent, being a writer, being a painter, being a friend, being a firefighter, being a monastic. We live in a perpetually burning building, and what we must save from it all the time is love. Thank you.